Apollo 69.
Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today's video is not one I technically wanted to make, but the time has come to make a video like this, and I'm not too happy with it. So a lot of you guys remember last week I uploaded the video called the 4.0 stricken again. So last week, the week before, I don't remember. Because my engine developed a rattle of some sort, and it was very hard to trace. There's a lot of different options I had to look at for what was causing this. Some of you guys suggested the belt tensioner, which is still a very possible option. However, the rattle has gotten worse, and after listening to it a little bit more, I have discovered that what I feared worst, which was internal engine damage. This is sounding like more and more like a timing chain cassette failure, which if you don't know what a timing chain cassette is, think of it kind of as a guide for the timing chain to help your engine stay in time with the valves and all that stuff. And it appears mine have failed. I wouldn't say failed, because one of them is just wore out and it's just causing this obnoxious engine rattle. And the reason I think it's that now is because under any sort of load, all you hear is this obnoxious rattle that is a lot louder than, say, a belt tensioner rattle would be. So, which brings me to my point that it's more than likely something to do with the timing cassettes. And I know this vehicle's been overdue for timing chains because the previous owner never did them. In fact, that was the first red flag when we bought this truck. When we asked him, did you ever get it done? He said, what's a timing chain? So obviously this truck's never had its timing chains replaced because it's an expensive repair. And I mean, you basically to tear down the motor. And in my case, more than likely my motor would have to be pulled. But there's a lot of things that are going to happen with this. Some stuff I'm not so excited about and I'm worried about. But let's go ahead and get into those different options. So what could happen first is pull the motor, replace the timing chains and chain cassette, and be good to go. Nothing else to do there. The engine's perfectly fine after that. And that would be what I would hope for, is just getting the cassettes replaced, getting the new chains and sprockets on, and be good to go. I found a place that is going to sell me a timing chain kit for under $100, which is great because timing chains are typically very expensive parts to replace. Timing chain kits with all the cassettes and all the sprockets and stuff I've seen sell other places for about $258 or so, especially if you're buying them from Ford. In my case, I am just going to get this $100 kit that does come with a warranty. It does come with everything I'll need, cassettes, which are the main concerns, and new chains and sprockets. So everything will be replaced, and hopefully that'll be our issue. First, I don't know exactly how it's going to go, whether my engine's going to be pulled first and then checked, or if I can just pull it, replace it, or pull it, check it out when I already have the kit, and if I already have the kit there and the motor is good, just go ahead and install it and be good to go. Or like I'm about to say here in a second. So our next options here is, say the timing cassettes have gone completely bad and have caused damage, because a lot of the times with these 4.0 single overhead cams, they like to go and screw up with the timing cassettes and cause damage to the valve trains, destroy valves and cause them to cause permanent damage to the engine. So say the motor's completely toast, I've got to get rid of it, and I have to get a new engine. We have 3 different options, 2 of which are good for us Ford fans like myself, and the third one's probably going to trigger everybody in the internet. So let's go ahead and start with the first option, which would be the easiest, but by far probably one of the more expensive, and that is to just put another 4.0 in. I know that sounds crazy. Why would it be more expensive? But because these engines are so fickle, I'd prefer to get one that is rather low mileage, say 100,000 or less, possibly even brand new with 0 miles straight from Ford. That would be great, but the likelihood of that is very low. These engines can get kind of pricey brand new for around $3,000 if I had to estimate, which would not be good for me because I want to get this fixed back up as quickly as I can, and $3,000 is not easy to come by. Our next option would be, say again, the engine's toast and I don't want to put another V6 in. My next option would be 5.0 Windsor. Now, I know a lot of you guys don't like the Windsor. The Windsor is a very anemic motor stock, but when you modify them, they can really put down some power, whether it be through a carb swap or just, building the overhead valve, just fuel injected engine, which is probably what the route I would go. I don't really want to put a carbureted motor in a vehicle from 2003. That just seems kind of odd to me. And our options there is pretty likely, actually. It's the easiest motor to swap in this vehicle. And the only thing we'll have to deal with is, of course, getting it tuned right on the 5.0. And the engine, of course, probably in this situation would be a completely stock Explorer Windsor. So about 215 horsepower. It's not that big of a gain from the V6, to be honest. But, you know, it's still a V8 in its own right. So our final option, which is going to trigger the entire internet as soon as I say these two letters, LS. I know a lot of you guys don't like the ideas of people putting LSs in anything besides Corvettes, which is, of course, well, the same opinion I have. But with an LS, you're getting a pretty potent V8, and it's a lot cheaper than you think. These engines can run for as cheap as $900, as I've seen, for the 5.3 out of the Tahoe, which, I mean, isn't necessarily an LS. It's an iron block LS, but it's definitely an option because the LS motor, like I've said before, is bulletproof. It's very, 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 very strong. You can run a lot of horsepower through them. And it's really the only GM thing I'd ever see myself doing with this vehicle because I'm not a GM fan myself. I don't really like Chevrolet and Dodge's business practices on my personal life. That's why I bought a Ford, is the business practices of the other two companies and some of the other things that I liked more about Ford, not doing the government bailout whole thing. And plus, a lot of Chevy's vehicles are just too similar to each other and aren't technically appealing to me. The only Chevy vehicle I can really say that is like, yeah, I'd buy that is the Corvette. With other exceptions from GM being like the CTS-V, stuff like that. I love CTS-Vs. But on the topic of LSs on this vehicle, a lot of people have already done this. There's two people I know right now. One has completed an LS swap, and one is working on one. And both of these guys have used 5.3s, which is, of course, the engine I'd be going for. In fact, I have found one for $930 out of a 2002 Chevy Tahoe for $930, and it is the 5.3 iron block with around 140,000 miles. This motor would be a pretty simple swap over. From what I've heard, it fits perfectly in these chassis, and I would not have any issues there. Of course, my dilemma would be, do I go manual or do I go auto? And it'd be kind of a similar story if I did the Windsor, because it's a difficult decision. I, for one, love manuals, even though I'm just now learning how to drive them. But this vehicle is a daily driver, which would be why I would think about keeping it auto, because having that automatic transmission is going to help me out in the long run on daily driving it and keeping it good, and like without having to worry about blowing clutches out all the time. But a manual would be fun. And, I mean, there's not a lot of manual Gen 1 Sport Tracks out there. There's 0 Gen 2s, minus the one Schrader Performance Coyote swapped Sport Track Gen 2. To me, it's just an option. I don't really know yet. I guess, like I said, it really depends on whether this engine is toast or if it's still good and I can still repair it and get it back on the road. If I can repair it and get it back on the road, I'm staying 4.0. There's no V8 swaps coming if this engine is fine. I do not want to go ahead and pay, $2,000, $3,000 for a motor when I have one that's running perfectly fine after the cassette's been replaced. Like I said, it just comes down to what happens there. I'm going to get in talks with Beast Garage, the same guys who did the work on my exhaust not too long ago for my uncle's graduation gift to me, which was the Flowmaster. And we're going to see if we can get some sort of thing worked out, because we're going to get my valve covers replaced, or gaskets on those, I should say, because they've gone bad. But we're going to have to see about this now as well. But that's basically all that. Is just, I'm keeping my options open. I will not be replacing the Sport Track, and a lot of you have been saying on my videos, if it's having so many problems, why don't you just get rid of it? I like this truck a lot. It's basically what's helped grow my channel. When I first got this truck, I had, I'd say, about 30 subscribers or so left over from the gaming days, and we're on almost 260 now, if I remember correctly, 260, 250, somewhere in that general area. And a lot of this channel has been built off this truck. So I plan on keeping it that way. I'm not getting rid of the truck. I'm just going to be doing something crazy with it, whether it be LS 5.0 or just getting a new 4.0 or just fixing my 4.0. But anyway, guys, that'll do it for this video. Thank you all again for watching. See you guys in the next one.